If you've got to the end of Star Wars Jedi Survivor, then a question that might be lingering in your head is if Cal will fall to the dark side. Throughout the game and story, as things get progressively more difficult and tougher for Cal, we see him slowly tap into his rage and anger. The biggest turning point perhaps was losing Jedi Master Cordova, Jedi Master Cere, and with the destruction of the Archive, after being betrayed by Bode. And as we see later in the game, Cal hunts down Bode, tracking him to an imperial base in the Nova Garon system where Commander Lank Denvik has the unfortunate role of being on the receiving end of his wrath.
Bode after our team. My crew. Cordova. Cere! They're all dead because of him! Cal!
Twice for that matter. However, Merrin manages to help Cal snap out of it, mostly through the bond she has with him. Had it been anyone else, it's unlikely that Cal would have held back. Cal tells Merrin that she won't lose him to his rage and the Empire, but the progression of Cal's rage continues after this, with it being a gameplay mechanic and ability, an ability that isn't resolved by the end of the story. Not to mention, during the closing moments of the game, the camera lingers on Cal, and despite overcoming all the obstacles and finally being able to establish a safe haven on Tanalorr, the music in the background is rather ominous. What was supposed to be a triumphant moment for our hero doesn't turn out that way. Instead, we're left with a sense of dread, asking ourselves if all the sacrifice and pain that Cal had to go through was worth it in the end. Whether Cal's inner struggle with the dark side of the Force has truly been resolved. And much of this is part and parcel of the overarching theme of Jedi Survivor, desperate people doing everything they can to protect those they love while desperately trying to survive. From the opening of the game, it shows us that even though the original crew of the Mantis has parted ways, Cal has formed some serious connections with his new crew. Cal tries to lead them as best as he can, but they all end up dying. And that same love extends to the original Mantis crew and the people he bonds with along the way as well. The same goes for Dagan Gera and his warped love for Tanalorr and what it supposedly promises. As the game progresses, we learn that Dagan's desperation for Tanalorr stems from a desperation to protect and guide the Jedi Order, which at one point also included Centauri. However, this desperation, which morphs into an obsession, quickly ruins his relationships and leaves him all alone. And it also goes without saying that Bode is in a similar situation, forced to do heinous things to protect his daughter, even if it means forsaking the Jedi Code and embracing the dark side, a decision that ultimately creates a rift between him and his daughter in the closing moments of the game. And while Cal stands on the edge of such darkness, he hasn't quite crossed the line. And I think the reason why the game has ended the story on such a note is to call into question whether Cal will descend into the darkness moving forward. In fact, the way the game progressed really reminded me of the way The Empire Strikes Back ended, with the heroes having lost so much and a sense of foreboding looming over them. And I think that's what Jedi Survivor was intended to be The Empire Strikes Back of Cal's story, which also means that in the next installment of Cal's story, it will fundamentally decide whether Cal returns to the light or embraces the dark. And while a third installment has yet to be announced, I think we can all be confident that there is a lot more story to tell, that Cal's story is far from over. And what the ending of Jedi Survivor has also done is set up a question of whether Cal's story will follow the route of Luke in Return of the Jedi or Anakin in the Revenge of the Sith. And Cal's character shares a lot of similarities with Luke and Anakin. By the end of Jedi Survivor, we see Cal grow into a much stronger Jedi. Since the beginning of Cal's journey, he has come a long way. But while Cere's moment on Jedha demonstrates that Cal still has a lot of room to grow stronger, he also has the potential to fall to the dark side. Much like Luke in the Return of the Jedi, sure, Luke is more powerful than he has ever been, but there are still moments in the movie where he shows signs of darkness, and this is sort of where Cal is at the moment. And sure, Luke ultimately chose the light, which also means that Cal could as well. But I also think that Cal shares a lot of similarities with Anakin. Much of Cal's growing darkness stems from his desire to protect others, and much like Anakin, this desire often takes him to places of rage and anger. Not to mention, both Anakin and Cal have a romantic relationship, a relationship that for Anakin devolved into an obsession, cultivating the darkness within. Throughout Jedi Survivor, Merrin does promise that if Cal ever lost his way, she would be there to guide him back, which is easier said than done. But it also raises an important question: what happens when she is gone? As much as Merrin can be Cal's beacon of light, she also has the potential to push him in the opposite direction. Cal's strong attachments to Merrin also means that he'll be more susceptible to the pull of the dark. Should Merrin be in trouble or torn from his life, it's almost guaranteed that Cal would embrace the darkness within. And much like Anakin, Cal ends up becoming the very thing he swore to fight against. Since the beginning, the story has given us clues of Cal's potential for the dark side. In Fallen Order, we were shown a vision of Cal in an Inquisitor's uniform, and now with the dark side being part of his abilities and moveset, things seem to get progressively worse. And there are really no easy answers to the question. Cal's similarities with Anakin's character could foreshadow an ending that may have the titular character fall to the dark side. Just like Anakin, the inability to control his emotions and his reactions to attachments may be Cal's biggest weakness. But that being said, the opposite could also be true. Instead of falling to the dark side like Anakin, Cal could also walk the path more in line with that of Kanan Jarrus. Kanan, who is also involved in a romantic relationship with Hera Syndulla, also had his attachments tested. With Hera being captured by the Empire, Kanan initially acted on impulse before reining in his emotions, acting like a proper Jedi, and a moment of character development that arguably made him a true Jedi Master. And Cal's position is similar in this way. Perhaps in the next installment of the story, Cal has to learn how to control his emotions, reining in his impulsive reactions to his attachments, and ultimately achieving the rank of Master, something which Anakin was never able to do. Cal's attachments have the equal potential to embrace the darkness within or be the strength that shields his loved ones, much like the strength Kanan found during his sacrifice, and so hopefully Cal can find something similar as well, only time will tell. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Will Cal fall to the dark side? As always, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. I'm the Lost Acolyte,
and I have spoken.